I've never seen a diamond in the flesh. I cut my teeth on wedding rings.
Dude, that's pretty cool.
Man, that is
On this
that
sad
is a
clown.
sad clown.
Proud of my address.
Dude, that's pretty good.
This is The Gloom, bringing you weekly interviews with F3 Omaha Pack, exploring their F3 experiences and finding those sticky elements that create the glue in the gloom.
All right, folks, we've got a master of formulas, a master of digital equations, and a really great leader. I think also a funny guy from my experience in the gloom. I think Spreadsheet, who's our guest today, is maybe funnier than he appears on the surface, and I just love getting to be next to this guy in the gloom. So Spreadsheet, man, welcome. It's certainly great to have you and just to hear your story. And where we like to start off is who EH'd you, what was the first workout like? I don't know if you remember how you were feeling, if you spilled Merlot, any of those sort of details, and then tell us how you got the name Spreadsheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of thank you for giving me the opportunity to jump on. I've listened to kind of every episode and I've thoroughly enjoyed kind of listening to everyone's stories. But my story, I suppose, is mac and cheese. Had been bugging me for quite a while, and I kept saying, "Oh, 5:30, like, yeah, at some point," and to the point where he invited me and my M over for dinner, and essentially the what got me to go that first time is he brought it up in front of Meredith for the first time, and she was like, "Oh, you need to totally go to that." And so he certainly kind of found the weakness, I guess, to get me kind of to finally push myself to go that first morning. My first post was in June of 2020. Lucky Charms was on the queue at Cornhusker Handicap. We moseyed over to Inner Rail and did kind of a grinder of sorts, and then ran back to the obelisk and did way more chicken peckers than I was prepared for that morning, and that was kind of the start of my F3 journey. We kind of circled around for Namerama, and I may have the shortest naming story of all time. I said, "My name's Ryan. I'm a CPA." I'm not sure who said it, but I immediately got cut off and said, "We've been waiting for one of you, your Spreadsheet."
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Man, that is a pretty quick one. I don't know. There's a number of different CPA related names we could have come up with, right?
Right, absolutely. But yeah, I don't quite remember who the one that shouted it out, but Lucky Charms quickly jumped on that and said, "Yep, that's it."
Oh man, what a creative EH strategy from Mac and Cheese. You had to have given him a hard time for that approach, right?
Yes, but it was the approach that I think was needed, and ultimately, I wish I had went to F3 a little bit earlier, but he certainly kind of figured out a way to jumpstart the process.
Yeah. So your M, I mean, if I remember, she's made cookies, and I mean, so she was sold right away, it sounds like, even, right? She's been engaged for a while.
Yes, and certainly the F3 guys have jumped on. have kind of jumped onto it as far as the sheet theme, and she is fondly known as Cookie Sheet by a number of past.
Does she do FIA or anything like that, or just but just sort of an F3
She she
or-
she's gone a couple times to, I think, either of the groups. She kind of is a solo runner, which is kind of what she enjoys doing. But I think she goes every once in a while and enjoys it as just kind of a change up for her normal routine.
That's awesome. So spreadsheet and cookie sheet. I did not know that. That's awesome. Well, so tell me, before, were you doing anything from a first step sort of fitness perspective on your own, or what was your fitness like at that time?
Had gone to the gym here or there. I wouldn't say that my routine was the best, or that I was really accelerating in that area of things. COVID kind of added to that. So I mean, I joined in June of 2020. So at that point, kind of the gyms that I had been attending were kind of shut down at that point. And I didn't really, I don't know. I don't feel like I'm a gym guy. I could do it, but it wasn't something I enjoyed in the same kind of level of the enjoyment I've gotten with F3, as far as kind of the small men workout group, where you push it where you need to push it. Some days you may have it, some days you may not, but you modify it and do your best and kind of amongst the group. I certainly have. F3 has certainly assisted me in improving my physical fitness in a way that I wasn't always good about individually.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. I think, I used to run on my own, and just as after being in the group for a long time, I definitely prefer having some other guys next to me to give that extra push. And it's harder now, I think, to do on my own sort of stuff, because I know how great it can be with the other guys next to you. So definitely appreciate that. I'm curious too. You mentioned maybe the barrier being the early mornings. So I guess, is it easier for you to get up now? Are you a morning person, or are you still sort of dread the early start time, or how are you doing with that?
I would say the early start time isn't always or isn't the hindrance to me anymore. I think, what is it? It'll be about 2 weeks will be my 3-year anniversary. That first year of winter, where you decide that you're the toughest person on earth, and that it doesn't matter how cold it is, you can do it. I think at this point, we're always outside, but I'm not always outside. I some of the rain and even this winter, I certainly didn't post as often as I had in years past. That this year going forward, I want to get back kind of on a more consistent kind of train. But yeah, I wouldn't say the 5:30 is the issue. It just is. I don't always like being wet and in the rain or cold in the snow.
Yeah. No, I for sure definitely. I'm with you there. It's funny you mentioned that. It's like after you do it once, you're like, yeah, I'm a badass and I can do this. And then after that, you're kind of like, maybe I don't need to be the toughest guy around in the cold, right? No, that's awesome. What you also kind of mentioned, as you wish you would have joined earlier. Anything in that space? I mean, what was going on in life before that you think maybe F3 would have helped with sooner? Anything specific there?
Certainly with COVID starting. I mean, at at the point that I started with F3, I was still in public accounting. And with COVID, it really kind of, we were doing everything remote. From a social interaction perspective, you know, I didn't really, I liked being in the office prior to COVID. I liked the kind of office camaraderie and such. And kind of with COVID and working from home, I felt like my social I'd say I'm an introvert, kind of, and so you know, being introverted, but then also being at home 100% of the time, and just feeling like all of my interactions with others, you know, certainly other than my but kind of everyone from work, it was, you only talk to someone when you needed something from them or they needed something from you. And so that kind of was mentally straining for me, I would say. And kind of by the point that I you know, was starting F3, I was starting to, you know, think about, all right, I want to find something else to do from a job perspective. And so I just think having kind of and even kind of communicating that kind of in the gloom with some of the guys, it would have been nicer to, you know, have someone to talk to about that in the way that certainly that kind of the F3 group, you know, helps people with that. And, you know, certainly lots of people that have had similar situation or going through a similar situation kind of through COVID. I think it just would have been nicer to have found this group a little bit earlier than I did. But you know, it certainly it found me where I needed it, kind of as gets discussed on a lot of these podcasts with the different guys.
Yeah, man, it's so true, right? It's like, you know, somehow things align perfectly every time. It's fascinating. And you know, I think you mentioned it, you know, and I don't know if you listened to the episode with Side Dish, but you know, similar sort of a, you know, self-identified introvert, but also somebody that, you know, enjoys that personal connection or even, you know, needs it, right? Like we all do. Curious what how did you go about building some of those relationships with other guys? I mean, it sounds like you knew Mac and Cheese. Did you know Side Dish as well, or?
Yep, we kind of all went to school together at Creighton. We were all in a business fraternity that almost in a way it was a co-ed business fraternity, but had some similarities with F3 as far as, you know, kind of people that are striving to be the best versions of themselves, and you know, looking kind of long term, future wise, and just trying to make the most of it. And so certainly had some commonality with those guys that then also obviously kind of correlated with an F3 as well.
So did you find yourself expanding, sort of trying to meet some new guys, or how did that kind of go?
I think, I mean, it certainly, you know, kind of when I started, I mean, we had, it was more than having one location a day, but it was at max probably 2 or 3 a day from a site perspective. And so it was, you know, certainly the first couple of weeks I probably went wherever Mac and Cheese went. But there also was just fewer sites at that point. So there were fewer options. And so it was just, you know, going, I from the beginning, I tried to go to coffee for most of the sites, which it made it easier at that point to, since I worked from home, that it was kind of do the workout, attend coffee, go home quick, shower, and sit in your seat. And so at that point, I probably traveled a little bit more than than I'd say I do now, where I would get out a little bit further west. But I would say that kind of the east side guys, I formed strong bonds with them pretty quickly. You know, Othello and me from a volume perspective might be a little bit different, but I felt like he was so opening and kind and I mean not even just Othello, but kind of lots of different guys. He just comes to mind that it helps pull me out of my shell from just the quick friendships were made, and that helps me pull out of the introvert a little bit.
That's awesome. I love that. And I do think, I think of some of the guys in the group, right, that are just, like you said, you mentioned Othello, there's a lot of other guys, but just the, outgoing nature. And then they try to connect with new guys and make them feel welcomed. And I think that does go a long way for keeping guys engaged. Did you say you went to coffee like starting with your very first workout? And is that maybe because that's what Mac and Cheese was doing, or what was your experience with the cafeteria?
I would say for the most part, I mean, yeah, there's probably days here or there that I don't go, but for the most part, I probably 90 to 95% of the time I go to the workout, I'm also going to coffee. And that was kind of from the start. And I think that's kind of also where I got to feel like, I was opening up a little bit more and getting to know the other guys, and where I was getting more of that social interaction that was maybe was lacking due to kind of the COVID environment and not having those same sort of, friendly banter conversations that, I in a normal time would have otherwise been kind of having at work, but actually at coffee, they were better and more well-rounded conversations, because it wasn't just about work or just kind of sports here or there. I mean, you got to kind of dive deep with guys kind of where they were at on that particular day.
Yeah, no, that's good. And that I think is, we got to keep encouraging the coffee. I know, when you talk to other regions, we do coffee after every workout, and that's not the norm, but I think has definitely been one of the things that has helped us to be successful in getting more guys engaged. What, you mentioned a little bit about a job transition or a change. Was that something you were able to work through with some guys sort of supporting or giving you input, or how did that process go as you were developing some new relationships and also navigating a change of career?
Yeah, so I October of 2020, so 3-ish months after I had started F3, I took a new role kind of where I'm still at. But talking to TC and Cyclone, and some other people that I kind of found that maybe weren't, just accounting and were kind of further upon in their career, but maybe had some accounting / business background, and just kind of, expressing some of the frustrations, and, just kind of asking for, I wasn't asking anyone for a job, but asking for, ideas about how to approach it from, packs that were a little bit older and probably had experience, going through career changes and the sort.
Yeah, that's really cool. I don't know if you know a ton about TC's career path. It sounds like you probably do, but just to think, when I first met TC, I remember maybe, not shortly after I met him, he had gone through a sort of a job transition that was really difficult. But then to hear sort of his experience being used to help you and your career path. It's just really cool how you never know, right? How this guy Q is going to use something that you've been through to help somebody else, and so that's really cool. What do you think? I mean, I think your strategy was really smart, right? Sort of seeking input from some of our more experienced guys or guys that maybe been through where you had been. I mean, how did you get to a place where you were comfortable, sort of having that conversation? Because that required some courage and vulnerability on your end to even bring that up.
I think a lot of it probably had to do, especially kind of TC and Cyclone, had to do with kind of the close knit group that we were able to kind of form at the canyon. And I know that Side Dish has kind of talked about that a little bit on the last episode, but it kind of there was definitely kind of and we kind of made a joke out of it that it was kind of a hate group and a respect group, and there at times wasn't a whole lot of in between, which is kind of the typical age group for F3 nationwide, I would think, but that we had a group of 30 and under and 50 and above, and kind of there was different periods of times where each group tried to see how many cues they could get in a row, whether it'd be hate cues or respect cues, and so we all kind of had a lot of fun with that, and kind of meeting one another kind of where we were at, whether it was kind of from the Side Dish mac and cheese, myself, or Waffle House, TC, and Cyclone, and certainly kind of the others that now have also become part of that small canyon group. But early on, it was there wasn't always a lot of guys, and I've done workouts where it was just me and Cyclone. I've done workouts where it was just me and Gunner. But some of those workouts, I think, looking back, are very impactful. Just having the opportunity to kind of one-on-one have discussions with, ultimately people that have a lot to offer from a life experience standpoint, but also just are great guys. And as a guy that just got married in the last 6 to 9 months, I look at F3 as I've got a plethora of role models to look up to, and learn from on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Man, that is so cool. And I have to believe that the reason, the mission statement refers to small workout groups is exactly what you kind of keyed into is like, if you have a huge group of guys, you are less likely to have those conversations, and you don't, you can't get to know somebody as well. And, so the fact that you participate in those smaller workouts, you found that's where the value is, right? Is when you get to connect and learn who people are and share who you are. So I love that. That's really, really cool. Tell me about the marriage aspect of things. I mean, I'm sure, it was similar experience with guys maybe having some advice or being able to help you there as you pursued that milestone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, mac and cheese is probably one of the first people to know, but kind of at the time in which I was, thinking about taking that next step, a proposal, Frosty and I carpooled most mornings together, and so I would say, I had not just met Frosty, but had met him and got pretty close to him, and kind of early on, and just we carpooled to the workout most mornings at that period of time. And Frosty was one of the first people to kind of know, and that's a testament to the relationship that I was able to build with Frosty, and and kind of the F3 that ultimately fostered kind of that relationship that, I don't know that Frosty and I would have run into one another in a different setting and latched on and become the friends that we are. And so, yeah, certainly there's lots of guys that, I think, most mornings that, hey, how are things going? Yeah, is the honeymoon phase over? Yada yada yada, and I certainly feel like, yeah, from a role model perspective, I continue to kind of find a group of guys that, we're not all perfect, but we're all going to try to do our best. And that's the guys that you want to kind of surround yourself around.
Yeah, for sure. I was at Helix yesterday, and TC was saying that for their anniversary, his wife had always wanted to go to one of those restaurants where they make the food in front of you. And then when they showed up at Subway, that's when the fighting started. So no, I thought that was some pretty good wisdom and a fairly decent dad joke. But man, you're talking about some just absolute pillars of our organization and the community that you've gotten to be around. So that's really, really cool. Just to hear, I think that's how this is all supposed to work, right? And then as younger guys come in, then you get to fill that space for them, and just kind of continues to go on. So really, really cool to hear that. What about, as you think about your, so you get into this group, you're working through your fitness journey, and then developing some of these really strong relationships, and even sort of career change, getting married. Where does the third F, or the faith piece, fit in for you? Is that something that was part of your life before F3, or did F3 maybe help with some of that? Or tell me your story there.
I think generally third F from an organized religion has been something that hasn't always come easy to me. Kind of born and raised Catholic, went to Creighton, a Catholic school, and so certainly self-identifying Catholic, but I wouldn't say church is always something I'm good about doing, or some of the more organized aspects of church. But I do think that F3 has assisted me in getting more to Sky Q versus the organized religion God. I probably before that, I probably before F3, I rarely prayed on, a daily basis. Now I'm to the point where, I'm praying with, and not only like praying by myself, but praying with anyone. And now every day that I post, praying with people with, the things that are touching their lives and that they want help with, and having that opportunity is a really cool thing for me. I haven't probably done as much of the different service aspects that F3 has to offer. I've done a couple of the food pantries and a couple of things here or there that, I think I need to be more intentional about trying to attend some more of those events. Similar to the first F, there's still work to do within that third F component.
Yeah, no, I love that. And that's exactly, I think when we talk about SkyQ, or just, believing in something, outside of yourself, bigger than yourself, it sounds like you've been able to expand on that, as you've progressed within F3, which is exactly the right direction to go. I'm curious what has been helpful. I mean, you mentioned that you've sort of been able to progress in that way. What's been helpful? Just the terminology, or the sort of other guys around you, or how have you leaned in to develop your perspective there?
Um, I would say, I mean, certainly kind of ending all the workouts in a prayer, and letting guy, and not like it's just not not that there are prayers that are recited that they're the same. I mean, the Hail Mary, the um, Our Father, but that the prayers in the mornings are kind of what the guys make it based on them opening it up and being vulnerable with the group, and kind of finding that way to express feelings that you know I feel men aren't always great at doing, especially in a group of other men. And as an introvert, I find that it's hard at times as well. But that, and there may be, things that, are on your heart, but that you may not say that morning, but that opportunity exists when you're ready to share whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, I love that. And curious, did you find, just like with other topics? I mean, at least from my perspective, the smaller group workouts I've been in, it seems like more guys are open to voicing their sort of prayer intentions or requests. Was that your experience too?
Yeah, I mean, certainly having the smaller group that um, you know, created a level of comfort with, um, certainly helps versus, a group of 40 guys, or, I mean, going to the gym and asking people at the gym to pray for what is on your heart is certainly a much different thing than the atmosphere that, is not only allowed, but encouraged in the gloom.
Hmm. Absolutely, man. I'm thinking of going up to somebody at the gym and asking them to pray for you, and how awkward that might be, right? I mean, it just
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't see people doing that, and the fact that we encourage, bring those things up, and talk about them. Let's pray about them together, despite any sort of differences in faith or belief system. I think definitely you're keying into something there pretty special and unique for sure. What when you think about leadership, then, right? So one of the things we're trying to do is reinvigorate male community leadership. Talk to me about your experience maybe it's from your VQ or leading at the Canyon, but what's been your experience as a leader?
Well, from a VQ perspective, um, I don't think anyone else could have much of a worse ending to a VQ than what I did. um, so this was at Futurama, and I really didn't let anyone else help me count, and that was a big mistake. Because by the end of the workout, I was called to Omaha. We ran up the stairs of Futurama, and I was absolutely gassed, and the Q juice was gone, and my ear started ringing, and all of a sudden my butt was on the ground, and Othello was saying, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay?" And so we did Namerama with me seated on the ground, and everyone coming to to me instead of the other way around. Um, but kind of the support and the concern and after everyone realized I was fine and okay, the laugh uh, of that situation kind of cemented the further cemented, F3 for me. Um, we it may not have been the in hindsight I can't even say whether it was if I did it today, how hard is it? I don't know. But we it was an interesting kind of experience, and but one that it hopefully doesn't happen to anyone else at a VQ. But for any guys listening that have an upcoming VQ, I don't think you can top it. But I think it's one of Tater's favorite stories to listen to in a group when there's a group of guys that hadn't heard that story yet. His grin's already big.
Yeah.
About as big as it can when that story comes up.
Yeah, I think I was there. And did we do the Namerama like with you on the ground, or how did am I remembering?
Yep. I was stationary, sitting on the ground, and everyone got into a line and walked to me.
Nice. Yeah, well, and I mean that's why we have guys lead and learn, right? Learn from that. And like you said, everybody's supportive. It's interesting how much pressure we sometimes feel when we're leading, and inevitably something's going to go wrong. Somebody recently had a COT about this, that you're going to queue, you're going to mess up, and nobody will notice, or they will completely surround you with love and support. So
Right. And
yeah.
I just I look back on it, and prior to F3 at the gym, I had a hard enough time trying to figure out what I was going to do at the gym to then think about kind of the acceleration and the power that F3 has, that then I put a workout together for a group of men, and ultimately did that, and that months before I couldn't even figure out what workout I was going to do for myself, to then even a little further down the line helping take over at the canyon, and am in charge of kind of a site with side dish that without F3, before F3 I couldn't even figure out a workout for myself, and then through F3 I had to start first with making one workout, but then went from leading one workout to helping co-lead a site. Is kind of a neat thing to think about and look back on in hindsight.
Yeah. Well, and for sure. And I think I would be curious, do you feel like just through the VQ and maybe other workouts and then leading a site, I mean, a lot of times it's confidence, right? We help you build confidence and sort of prove to yourself that you can do those sorts of things. But how else do you feel like that helped you, and maybe also be curious if that translated to any other areas of your life?
Yeah, I think it from a certainly that first workout was, uncomfortable is not the right word, but there's some discomfort with going to that first workout, doing that first VQ, trying to during multiple Qs after that, and ultimately helping lead a site. That I think just challenging yourself to be uncomfortable, or at times helps you be more resilient and flexible. And so I think that I've seen that, certainly assist in the job now that I've had basically most of the time I've been in F3 where, it's okay to be uncomfortable, and that's where kind of the growth and the learning comes from. If you're just looking to be comfortable, you're not going to learn. And so part of being a leader is making sure that you're always trying to learn new information and make kind of constant improvements, because if you stop, you're not improving, and if you're not improving, then what are you doing? Which, I mean, kind of, I guess, feeds into the acceleration thoughts within F3.
Yeah. Yeah, you're either accelerating or decelerating, right? There's not really a neutral portion there, right?
Right. So yes, I would say kind of through the different leadership opportunities I've had in F3, it keeps helping me push forward and fuel kind of that wanting to constant improvement, that I mean is kind of shown within F3 every morning by the different guys.
Yeah. I'm curious if as you were dating your wife, right, before you started, she sort of encouraged you to join, and then, throughout this whole, last 3 years or so, right, you've gotten married and gotten a new job. And I mean, how has she had any feedback, or what is she seeing from a male community leader perspective? Has said anything to you there?
Yes. I would say she still thinks I need to go more, but that I think she's communicated this, that there's always going to be tough days along the road, but that I tend to, the days that I come to F3 are days that I come home in a better mood. It's easier for me to let the stressors of that day kind of wash away, and that it just is helpful. I think she thoroughly kind of enjoys a lot of the different elements of F3. She participated in the brick builder with us this last weekend. Mac and cheese, U-Haul, Sputnik, and Kielbasa. So she was the only girl on the team, but she was the one leading the pack, and I think she just has an appreciation for that it's a team thing. It's at the end of the day, we all win if we're all moving forward in the right direction. And so I think she certainly has a deep appreciation for a lot of the friendships I've been able to forge with kind of people across different spectrums of life and different spectrums of career path. That I think a lot people in F3, it's easier to appreciate because you see it on a daily basis. But I think when the M's are able to also see it, it really is a testament to it, what it can do and what it is doing.
Yeah, that's really cool. And cool that she participated in the brick builder with you guys. I think I did that with my M and last year, and it, I think just opens their eyes a little bit to sort of why we come home and we're less stressed and ready to take on the day. It's just a small glimpse. into that world. So I love that. What, as you think about this leadership aspect, and as you've got have led several workouts, you've got a site Q sort of term, we'll call it, under your belt. Any advice or any learnings that you feel like you would want to share with guys that are listening, whether it maybe be somebody getting ready for their VQ, or maybe it's somebody who's currently leading a site?
Don't worry so much. I think that's something that I at times struggle with, that I overthink. I am overanalyzing, which I guess an accountant, you wouldn't want someone under analyzing things, but that, whether it's a VQ or just a workout or whatever you're trying to do, that don't worry so much about what other people are going to think, because at the end of the day, they're just happy that you're there and participating, and your ideas. No one care at the end of the day. If it was too easy, no one's going to remember. If it was too hard, maybe a couple people remember. But that, the point is that you're exercising and you're flexing your leadership muscles, and kind of taking the opportunity to show, be vulnerable, be open, be the person that you actually are, and that's the most important part of F3 to me, is that there's no one's fake, no one's trying to be something that they're not. That we all get to be exactly who we are at 5:30 in the morning.
Man, that's phenomenal advice and insight, and I think you're spot on, man. Right, and that, like, if guys are feeling like they've got to be, put on a different persona or whatever, right? We, iron sharpens iron, but we can't sharpen the fake version of you, right? So like,
right.
We're all going to get the most benefit if we are just ourselves, right? And let the other guys around us see who that is, and we can impact each other the most that way. So that's excellent advice. We've sort of added a couple new questions here. After our 5-year anniversary, I've got this question from Wait Time and Tater that I'm just always curious what guys would say. So I'm curious your thoughts on this question here. It's what did you think was important when you started F3, and what do you realize is more important now?
I think probably at first it was, I had a lot of emphasized the exercise, and certainly was never the most athletic of the bunch, but I think that was what I focused on, that there was all these other guys can do it better or do more, but that's okay. Like, I'm not in competition with anyone there in the morning. I'm there because we help make one another better, and so and get to be our genuine selves, without having to put on kind of a mask of sorts. And so, I certainly have gained kind of the appreciation of, I get to be exactly who I am at that point in the morning, and some days it might be doing burpees, or some days it might be playing brisket ball or mush ball at the rabbit hole in the morning. That it doesn't have to be the hardest or the easiest workout, but it's the being there that morning, and some mornings there may not be guys that need something, or they may not voice that they need something, but being there if they do. I think that's the more impactful and more important part of F3.
Yeah, man, absolutely. No, I love that. I think it's, I was telling somebody the other day, we're really just we're a men's group that likes to get coffee together, but there's a small requirement to work out beforehand, and
It's not free.
yeah,
you got to do the exercise.
yeah, right. And I guess for some guys, right, if you're injured or not able to do the workout, I would say that's not even required, right? Just show up for coffee, and we'd love to see you there too. So no, that's great. What other question I've been asking guys, because I'm curious, but if you had a chance to pick the name for your episode of the Gloom, what would you call it? What would you name it?
I gotta make it punny, so give me a second.
Okay.
Excelling and pivoting.
Oh, nice. Okay. Nice. I can work with that. I love that. That's really good. Excelling and pivoting. That's awesome, man. Well, what as you think about just what where you're headed with life, and just you got a lot going on, and curious if there are things that when we see you out there, should we be maybe praying for, or just giving you encouragement for anything in that space for you?
I think I honestly I needed to do a better job of kind of going from 2 or 3 days to 3, 4 or 5 days. So I know I'm in. There's no more EHing, but maybe a little internal EHing, or continued EHing to lock me in, make me make that head count commitment. That I don't know. In the coming up on 3 years, the first year, kind of being all bought in, all in. The second year, kind of having that site Q role. You can't really disappear. I think in that third year, I've struggled a little bit in not holding myself as accountable as I ought to post the number of times that I really should, to be able to not to live out some of the different things I've talked about. I mean, I know the power of F3. I know what it's about, but sometimes it's just getting out of that heart sack and being there for the other guys, because ultimately that's the piece that's most important.
Heck yeah. Well, yeah, and I think a lot of guys are in that space, right? I think we've heard sort of that journey, right? You start off, and first year you're getting used to it, and a lot of guys maybe second year get to become a site Q, and then that third year we see some guys fall off. So I appreciate your commitment to not do that. What's helpful, is it a text from somebody the night before that says, "Hey, I'm going here. Do you want to join me?" Or what's helpful for you to kind of get you locked in?
Yeah, I think making me put it in figuratively writing makes it certainly more impactful, or even just seeing a guy and saying, "I'm gonna be here, are you?" Instead of just yeah. If someone's, "Oh, are you coming?" then I go, "Oh, maybe." it probably is not happening. If I'm saying maybe it's a soft no, but you know, make it. I think it's helpful for guys to, you know, it's not that I don't want to go. It's just that if I haven't made that commitment, it's a little bit harder to get up in the morning and just put your shoes on and do it.
Yeah, no, totally agree. I'm right there with you, man. I think that's really good, and we'll be thinking about you, praying for you, and have some guys reaching out, kind of give you that extra nudge. Anything else you feel like that you would want to share that maybe we didn't get to cover?
I don't think so.
Awesome. Well, this was really good, man. I think your story, like all of them, right, is unique, but also really identifiable and relatable. And so, just appreciate you taking time to share your journey, and excited to just watch. You've got a lot of big milestones that have occurred within F3. So I know some for me, like having a baby was a big one. There's all sorts of life yet to experience with a great group of support behind you. So appreciate you, man. Let's do a name-orama. I'll start us off here. Brandon Flehardy, 37, The Plague.
The Plague. Ryan Sternfelt, 30, Spreadsheet.
And no noise, but you definitely have the spreadsheet. And that's you're calculating, right? That's what that gesture is.
I got my 10 key out.
Okay, that's the 10 key. Got it. Oh, man. Awesome. Well, hey, it was good talking to you. Have a good rest of your day.
You too. See ya.
Later.